Hello YouTubers, this is the Noobifier, and welcome to another no bullshit video on how the Sabre release might impact Arena Commander when patch 2.2 goes live. With the inevitable release of patch 2.2, I'm hopeful that the Sabre goes flight ready. It's my belief that if that happens, all aspects of Arena Commander are about to change. The Sabre should finally be able to give the Super Hornet a tangible competitor in the sphere. Please don't interpret this video as Super Hornet hate or Sabre fanboyism. The fact is, as long as we've known, the Super Hornet has been the go-to top dog in Arena Commander. It can mount a powerful weapon load and has great protection. The good news is, it's common opinion that they won't occupy the same role, so they'll both have a valid place in the verse. Board Gamer best described them like this: the Hornet is the brawler, the Sabre is the ninja. Here's some important lore that might explain how the Sabre fits in the verse. The story is really reminiscent of the real-life procurement between the YF-22 and the YF-23. The Aegis Sabre and the Anvil F8 Lightning were both tested as prototypes to replace the aging UEE fleet. The Vanduul Stinger class was identified as a tangible threat to the UEE. We needed a new ship to deal with it. The Sabre ultimately lost the government bid against the Anvil F8 Lightning. Aegis has decided to sell the Sabre to qualifying civilians. It sounds like an everybody wins situation. As with everything in Star Citizen, what I'm about to say is based on my research and subject to change as everything is balanced by CIG. Here are some key stats that you need to know about the Sabre. Fixed, it can mount 4 size 3. Gimbaled, it can mount 4 size 2. The main weapons can retract into the frame, which could be a major advantage. The main weapons are also closely mounted to the center line of the craft. The wings can tuck flush against the frame without affecting weapon placement. It has internal pylons for 6 size 2 missiles. The Sabre combat speed is said to be between 260 and 280 meters per second. The Sabre packs a full complement of forward-firing weapons, which is mega loved for monoboating pilots because of the placement. Stealth and speed are its assets, which is why it's called a shock kill ninja. The enemy won't know what hit him. Here are some key stats that you need to know about the Super Hornet. Fixed, it can mount 1 size 4 and 3 size 3. Gimbaled, it can mount 4 size 2s and 2 size 1s. The wings can tuck in, but for landing only. It has internal pylons for 8 size 1 missiles. The Super Hornet combat speed is between 200 and 205 meters per second. The Hornet packs a wider range of weapon combinations. It can carry a single size 4. It has strong shielding and lots of armor. That second crew station with a capable player could multitask and allow the Super Hornet to engage multiple targets at the same time. I see this as being a massive advantage to the Hornet, except my personal thoughts are, rather than putting a pilot and Rio in a Super Hornet, why not put 2 pilots into 2 Sabres? Formations and tactics could pay off more than what boils down to essentially a fancy auto turret. The enemy will see you coming in the Super Hornet, but you can tank a ton of damage and fight like a champ. So with this, my assessment is, I see the best role for the Hornet as the frontline defender, and the Sabre as the assaulter. That doesn't mean that I feel that a Sabre can't defend, or a Hornet can't assault. It's just that I feel that that's where they'll excel. If you disagree with that assessment, you have a chance to voice your thoughts in the comments. None of the information we have is final, but I did notice that CIG does try to ensure that the final ship matches the original description from the concept launch. Before we compare power and shield systems, I'd like to say that in 10 for the Chair, Chris Roberts did specifically say that just because a power supply or shield generator was of a particular size, it didn't directly indicate its output. I suppose a real-world example of this would be 2 portable heaters that are physically different sizes, but still have the same 1000 watt output. Just because 2 power supplies are size 4 doesn't mean that they're going to have the same output. Currently, the physical size is the only statistic displayed on the ship page. It's a lot harder to track down the output capability. Shields, thrusters, power plants, avionics, they're all going to have some plus or minus wiggle room. This makes total sense to me. CIG is going to need to be able to dial everything into balance without the community flipping out. I personally have confidence that this will all work out. It looks as though the Sabre is going to have 3 size 2 power plants and 4 size 2 shield generators. Another possibility is that due to the size of the craft, that they're forced to use 4 strong size 1 shield generators instead. The Sabre has weaker armor, so it makes sense that the shield should be very capable. As I said, nothing is 100%, and we've yet to see what this looks like in game. So for now, all that means to us is that the Sabre will have redundant systems. The Sabre has never been described or presented as a glass cannon. By that I mean, I don't expect it to be anywhere near as armored as the Super Hornet, but the shields should be equal to or better than the Super Hornet. The Sabre should be able to soak up its fair share of hits, but once the shields go down, I would expect it to not stick around like the Super Hornet. This key difference is going to determine how these ships fight. The Hornet will be able to loiter a lot longer, but the Sabre will need to break contact and recover its shields. The Sabre pilot's going to really need to know how to exploit the power and shield placement screens. He's going to have to remember to disengage, or else he won't have any success in combat. This will define the difference between a good pilot and a great pilot. The Sabre has 2 size 3 main thrusters and 8 size 2 maneuvering thrusters. They're placed really close to the outer edges of the fuselage for better leverage. This is exactly the same thruster layout as the Gladius. The Gladius is known as one of the best handling fighters in the verse, so I have some pretty great expectations for the Sabre. The Super Hornet has a single size 4 power plant and a single size 3 shield generator, which is upgradable to size 4. We've already seen that both of those systems are very capable. The Super Hornet has a single size 4 main thruster and 8 size 2 maneuvering thrusters. Unlike the Sabre, they're placed around the weapon ring near the center of the craft. They're more protected, but from a design standpoint, I feel that being close to the center of the craft makes them less effective at maneuvering the craft. It's going to be really interesting to see how single large well-protected components differ in combat from many smaller redundant systems. We need to cover stealth. It's actually the key party trick that the Sabre brings to the verse. The Sabre's been specifically mentioned as being stealthy from the ground up. The Hornet Ghost is a variant that's been retrofitted with stealth technology. It should be much more difficult to detect a ghost than any other ship. But with that, the devs did say that we can expect the basic Sabre to be more stealthy than the Ghost. This personally pissed me off a bit. I'm always proud to tell people that the game isn't pay to win. I actually believe that to be true. In this specific case, however, I don't think I can say that. Basically, CIG is saying, you can keep your Ghost, but you should know that if you pledge more, you can have a better Ghost. To me, I'm getting the impression that the Sabre launch is going to make the Ghost irrelevant. The lore behind it makes total sense, I get it. The Ghost is an old ship, the Sabre is next generation. If you own a Ghost, I'm sorry, but unless you have a reason to keep it as a big piece of hangar flare, you should probably melt it or CCU it to a Sabre. The Sabre looks like it's going to outclass the Ghost in every way except potentially for armor. The Ghost is said to have void armor technology. Depending on how tough it is, that could turn out to be the only plus factor for owning a Ghost. I'm truly expecting to hear your thoughts with regards to the Ghost. Let me know if you feel I'm missing something. To conclude, I'm really excited to see what the Sabre brings to Arena Commander. I'm also very happy to see that the Super Hornet isn't being replaced. The Super Hornet will still have a fully legitimate role in combat. The org that I'm a member of is being built from the ground up as a set of layered fighter wings. Practically every one of the 36 members of the team has a Sabre. If the objective of the mission is to attack, I personally foresee the Sabre being the bulk of any formation. The composition will do well to incorporate Vanguards and Super Hornets to tank the damage, and then Retaliators to ruin the larger ships. Another idea we're testing out is the idea of using Super Hornets out in front to focus the enemy and then hit them fast with the less tanky Sabre. I can't wait to be part of a skilled composite strike force with my org mates. Training, practice, tactics, voice comms, and leadership. When it all comes together, it's going to make for some awesome gameplay and definitely some battles to remember. A shout out to the Dominator, Chief Gully, Ritz, and Sir Douche. Welcome to Enemy Contact. And a special thank you to the patrons for your support. The contests that help me grow my channel are funded directly with your donations. If you like what I bring to the verse, please check it out. There will be another giveaway pretty soon, an LTI Avenger Titan at 2400 subs or later next week. I hope you like my no bullshit format. Help me get the word out about Star Citizen by linking this to a friend. If this is your first time here, please subscribe for future content like this. Thanks, and I'll see you in the verse.